Hello, losers. Look, I know I'm not quite the guy to speak on this matter, given my physical looks, where I'm at, and my voice. I know, I'm so annoying. I'm so annoying. I know. Okay? I'm not saying that for my fans. I'm not saying that for people who potentially could watch this. I'm saying this for the people who are just, stumbling on it because they don't like. They just see it because they automatically think, oh, it's something I disagree with, so I must hate it. You know, like those kind of folks. They exist on here. But what I'm talking about on this video is transgender athletes. And nothing really specific. It's not like something currently happened that made me want to talk about this. It's just the span over the 2020s specifically so far, at least the time of this recording. And the time of this recording is released on the same day as of this recording. That's when this video will be released, is on the same day of this recording. So yeah, we're good. Anyway. Sorry, I gotta get that down there. Transgender athletes. It's complicated. When most people usually talk about transgender athletes, they usually talk about it when, something crazy happens, or usually just whenever a trans woman, meaning a man who later on decided to become a woman, he went from a she, and then that she just decided to live life like a woman. Went from living life like a man, decided don't want to be a man anymore, and then went to that route because, I don't know, I guess she thought it would be better. And then there's the reverse, where it's women who were women, and then they decided they didn't want to be women anymore, and then they became men, trans men. And they add in that word trans because, they weren't, they didn't necessarily become or were a man or a woman before then. They just decided to be because they didn't like being the way that they were, It's not like you're born this way, It's not like someone, some nature thing just decided, oh yeah, you're gonna be transgender. No, it's more of your own decision when you're an adult, it's mostly an adult kind of thing. Now there are trans kids, but if you ask me, the only real trans people are people who decide to become that way in their later adult years, in their late 20s, maybe early 30s at most, or even later if you want to go that far. But usually that's when I say most people are mature enough because they've been an adult long enough to say, hey, I'm gonna be the opposite gender. Yay. And it's you only got two options, obviously, but this video is not exactly about that thing. That's a whole nother video on its own, and there are plenty of videos on the internet that go on its own with that one subject. And I'd rather not get into that specific part because I don't know too much about it. I'm not a biologist. And even if I was, I just hope I don't get attacked by the trans protectors community for saying those kind of things. Because I kind of felt scared to post this video, but I think I will. I know I will. Anyway, transgender women. Let's start with there. In sports. Let's go with, what was that, swimmer's name? Mariah Carey? I don't know exactly. They had a swimmer. He went to a she. Kind of. And then she won the Olympics or something, and then they were complaining about it because, well, it wasn't deemed a fair competition because she was born male. So yeah, that's basically the whole thing, and they're not saying that to be transphobic. They're like, they're fine with the trans people. That's not the issue. You can be that lifestyle if you want to live that lifestyle. It's just the only real issue that people have with it is when you use it as an unfair advantage to be a pack of the competition, because there have been a lot of reports. Not to say that this is all of them. It's just, this is how it mostly started out. It mostly started out like a lot of the trans women or whatever would use this as a way to score high. Now, it's very, very, very rare that they would use this to, like, be the better one because they weren't good when they were men or something. But, like, today it's rare, but back then it was really common because they know god dang well if they used, like, steroids, they would have got exiled from being a sports player, you know? But, look, it's not to say that transgenders don't belong in sports. They do. You know, if you want to be a sports athlete, you can. You know, anybody can if they really want to. All they have to do is get into a sport, popularize a sport, or even just straight up invent a new sport just because they maybe don't have the mental or physical capabilities of other people. So it kind of would make sense to probably invent your own sport in that case. Anyway, I feel like if transgender men and women alike, and cisgender, which is like people who never decided to be a transgender, who always decided to be the gender they were assigned at birth, they could go into this club, and it could be there could be a groups of multi-gendered sports, like mixed gendered sports. In fact, they do exist. So if you, a transgender person, want to get into sports, I would say go to mixed sports, because you are promoting a less popular version that is way less popular than even a lot of women's. And I'm not trying to say that to be sexist. I'm just saying because when most people think of sports, they usually think of men's. And how the ladder goes is men's, women's, disabled, and then you got, like, mixed gendered sports, and then you got whatever college stuff, high school, middle school, elementary stuff on the bottom there, because, you know, they're not pro or anything. But once you get past the college, then you can get into the real stuff, you know? Like, regardless if it's, like, you're a disabled player, mentally and or physically, and many or one, you can still find a way to play a sport, you know? Like, even if it's, like, meaning, like, it's only you and a buddy, or if it's just you, then, yeah, you might go that route if you can, you know? That kind of thing. But if you ask me, transgenders should really start promoting mixed-gendered sports a lot more. Don't just go into a only male league or only female league. Go into those a mix of male and female gendered competitions, because they're low. You know, they need more representation, and you as a transgender person is that representation. You know, that's where I feel like you would belong in sports, because then you would be able to be with other transgendered men or women, depending on who you ask. And then, speaking of transgender, there are transgender men, and when it comes to sports, they're rarely even talked about at all. Like, when it comes to the women's sports, the women-only sports, if a transgender woman beats out the competition like crazy, oh, the news covers it like, oh, and they only, like, it's the only time they ever beated it ever, and it's like, oh no, they ruined everything. But I'm not saying this to go attack people who are transphobic and transphobic. I'm not saying you should go attack people who are pro-trans either. It's not good. Sorry, I thought I saw something there. Anyway, but when it comes to trans men, you could be the best trans man of your sport, of freaking, I don't know, whacker ball. You know, you could be the best in whacker ball, and you could be like the Michael Jordan of whacker ball. And guess what? You're probably not even gonna get barely any recognition. You're probably gonna be like that one player who was barely recognized in like NBA of their time, and only did that even though you had like years or even decades of hard work and hardcore dedication, and maybe even scored harder and scored better than all the sports players did, you know, of your league or maybe your specific team. Things like that. And yeah, I can kind of see why it's a lot harder. But if you ask me, if you truly want to get more representation, push hard on mixed gendered sports. Like, I don't mean like, oh, get like the WNBA and NBA and just mix them together. No, I mean like, create your own league instead, where people like that, the people who are transgender, that are not like physically disabled, because physically or I guess mentally disabled can go into its own category depending on the disability, you know, because some people are in a wheelchair and some people are not. Some people are blind and some people are not. Some people can run really, really fast and some people cannot. You know, some people can have no eyes and some people do. And some people are deaf and some people are not. You know, it's that kind of thing. But, you know, you gotta think about it. Don't think about it as, oh, what are all these other people thinking about it? What are all these people thinking about me? No, what are you thinking about you? You know? Don't think of these ideas like, oh, what this person or that person says about it. What do you as a person personally think about it as? You know, that kind of thing when it comes to this kind of stuff. If you made it this far into the video, which if you didn't stop or if you somehow made it to this far in the video and actually watched the whole video, I'm honestly surprised because of attention span nowadays. Even my attention span is very crappy. You know, it's not great. It's not good. But I try. I really, really try. Anyway, I gotta end this video so it can get released. And when it is released, it's going to be released on the same day of when this video was recorded, I assume. I don't know. I really don't know if that will happen, but we shall see. We shall see. And yeah, that's about it about the whole transgender situation so far. If you want to comment, you can. If you want to do anything else, you can. If you agree, if you disagree, if you have something else to say, if you have something in between, maybe. I don't know. And I do care. So don't say I didn't care, but I do care. Anyway. Yeah, I gotta end this video so it can get released, probably. Anyway, I shall see you later. And just remember, everybody, just stay ugly.